Hey, yo, what's up? It's Smooth.
Vaughn.
This is Riggs.
And Slick Money.
And you are now listening to the
Switch Style
Podcast.
Welcome to the Switch Style Podcast, where we encourage you to think beyond what you hear. I'm your host, Smooth, and joined by Riggs and Vaughn. What up, guys?
What up, Smooth?
Good.
Up, Smooth?
Just making it, man. Just making it.
That's all right. You gonna be all right.
Yeah, we gonna be all right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to be all right. But glad to see you guys, of course, as always.
Glad to see you too, sir.
Likewise, you a soldier.
Just do what I can, man. Got to keep it moving.
That's right. That's right.
But audience, welcome back to the podcast, the Switch Style Podcast. This is actually episode 38.
38.
Yeah.
38 high.
38 high.
We on the move.
And on episode 38, audience, we're actually going to review For Your Eyez Only by J. Cole. So I know a lot of people have been waiting on this album for the last 2 years. And we're actually going to tell you a little bit about it tonight. And we'll also update the charts for you and talk about a few Grammy nominations as well. But before we jump into it, if you like what you hear, remember to follow us on iTunes, Google Play Music, and SoundCloud, all at Switch Style Podcast. And also follow us on Facebook,
Instagram,
and
Twitter.
All right, guys, here we go. On the Billboard 200, the Hamilton mixtape debuts at number 1, earning 187,000 units. 169,000 of those were traditional album sales. Also, the Rolling Stones arrive at number 4 with their latest, Blue and Lonesome, earning 123,000 units. And last but not least, Childish Gambino's Awaken My Love bows at number 5, earning 101,000 units. 72,000 of those were traditional album sales. Any quick thoughts on the 200?
That's nice. Not too long ago, that 100,000+ would have made him number 1.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He just missed it. And it's surprising because John Legend came out the same week and he did not debut in the top 10.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was pretty shocked about that one. The Hamilton mixtape, I mean, this thing keeps rolling.
I need to check it out. That was on my list to check out this week, but I got caught up in some other things. Some recommendations by you. But I'm going to have to check it out.
Yeah, please check it out. And audience, just in case you're wondering, the Off-Broadway show premiered on January 20th of 2015 and then moved to Broadway later that year. The show is currently sold out on Broadway through July of next year, 2017. Wow. And they also launched a production in Chicago, which actually began, well, it started on September 27th. And they're actually sold out through February of next year. Congratulations to Hamilton.
Oh, congrats. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, everybody loves it. And one more nugget, combined album sales, they're over 1 million in combined album sales.
That's hard to do nowadays.
Especially for something like that, a musical like the original recording, it sold 876,000 copies already. So congrats to them. And on the Hot 100, we'll actually keep this one quick. Black Beatles rose for a 5th consecutive week at number 1. So again, congratulations, Ray Shrimmer, Mike Will made it, and Gucci Mane. And again, audience, will actually get into some Grammy nominations next. But before we do that, if you like what you hear, please subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play Music, and SoundCloud, all at Switch Style Podcast. And also check us out on Facebook,
Instagram,
and
Twitter.
All right, here we go. Audience, the nominations for the 59th Annual Grammy Awards were announced last Tuesday, December 6th of this year, 2016. Beyonce led the way with 9 nominations. Drake, Rihanna, and Kanye West each scored 8 nominations. And everybody's favorite, Chance the Rapper, scored 7 nominations of his own. So,
which is wonderful because they weren't even sure whether he'd be able to qualify.
Yeah, right. You're right. So
well, he's qualified.
Yeah, he definitely is qualified, and 7 nominations, and I expect him to pull home a few of them at least.
I think at least 2.
Yeah. He should. And audience, just quick preview. Sometime early next year, we'll actually do a full Grammy show, and we'll preview a lot of the awards, and we'll talk about the Grammys for an entire show. So look out for that. Yep, give you our predictions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The audience, know the cast can wait for that.
So excited about that. But we'll actually jump into the fun part. The thing that we came here to do tonight, which is review J. Cole's For Your Eyez Only. And so let's go ahead and jump into it. And audience, if you hadn't heard any of our reviews before, we just like to tell you a little bit about the artist before we get started, just to sort of bring you up to speed. So here we go. Jermaine Lamar Cole was born January 28th, 1985 in Frankfurt, Germany. But he grew up in Fayetteville, North Carolina. After high school, he attended St. John's University in New York, where he graduated magna cum laude. Smart guy.
Very smart.
Yeah, if you can graduate, because I think St. John's is a private school, is it? I'm not sure, but I'll figure it out later. And later, J. Cole's first encounter with Jay-Z proved to be quite disappointing, to say the least. And as you all know, J. Cole is actually signed to Jay-Z's Rock Nation. Yep. ROC. However, J. His persistence paid off, and he became the first artist signed to Jay-Z's Rock Nation label. So at first, he stood outside of Jay-Z's office for hours, just waiting to give him a demo tape. And Jay-Z kind of looked at him, and I don't even think he said anything to him, from what I read. But Jay-Z just kept him moving. But look where he is now. And as of now, J. Cole's resume includes 10 Hot 100 singles, 5 Grammy nominations, and 3 platinum certified #1 albums. So let's just set expectations for the artist and the review before we go. Well, let me ask you guys this first. Vaughn, when did you first experience J. Cole? When did you first hear about him?
I first heard about him, I think it was in 2014. I've been trying to remember back. I heard a lot of his stuff like Power Trip and all that. I think, was that one of his first? No, Crooked Smile was the first one.
No, it wasn't. Crooked Smile actually came later on down the line, but that was one of his bigger hits. Crooked Smile hit in October of 2013. Hit number 27 on Billboard Top 100.
I was trying to remember when.
Well, it could have been Who Dat. That was probably his first big single.
Yeah.
Then Workout. He sampled the Kanye West interlude. Well, it was a full song, really.
Yeah,
And Can't Get Enough with Trey Songz. That might be the one you're thinking about.
Yeah. That.
And that was in 2012. But sorry, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, and then Nobody's Perfect with him with Missy.
Yes.
That was one of the first ones when I was like, who is that? And then started hearing about J. Cole. Like, oh, okay.
Riggs, what about you? When did you first experience J. Cole?
Oh, on a mixtape about 6 or 7 months before his album dropped.
The first studio album?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cold World, the sideline story, right?
World,
okay.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And I liked him from the first time I heard him. And I was hoping, to see big things for him. Like, it was kind of the rumor, like, on the streets was a little bit like, because Jay was doing so much that, he was going to overshadow J. Cole too much. And I think I forgot the other dude that everybody else was talking about. It was J. Cole, another cat that was next cat that was signed to Rock Nation. But yeah, Cole, he did his thing. He not a whole lot of promotion, not a whole lot of but he just creeped up and kept keeping up, and I think he's dope.
Yeah, I agree. And me, I actually heard him. The first time I think I heard him was on, or not think, but I did hear him on the Blueprint 3. Jay-Z's Blueprint 3. Can't get it out. But for some reason,
that's right. Mm-hmm.
I really don't even remember his verse on there.
It's funny that you mentioned that because when it came out, that's like a verse that everybody was like, yo, did you hear that verse? I mean, that was big.
And I'm not discrediting J. Cole's verse, but it's been a long time ago. That's probably what I should have said. But it's been because the Blueprint 3 I cannot say Blueprint. The Blueprint 3 came out in 2009, yeah. And so that was 8 years ago. So 7 years ago. So it's been quite a while, and that wasn't Jay-Z's best. So, but back to J. Cole. But I experienced him. My first real experience was his first album, Cold World, the sideline story, and since then I've been a fan. But that's pretty much my J. Cole experience story. So, Riggs, what are your expectations for J. Cole? And just to give you a few facts. All of his albums have gone platinum. Well, the three studio albums prior to the one we're about to talk about. Mm-hmm. They've all gone platinum. His biggest hit was actually Power Trip with Miguel in July of 2013. which says that, he has a cult fan base and he can sell albums, but he doesn't make really huge mainstream hits. And he's a self-contained artist as well. He produces and he writes his own stuff. So what are your expectations for him?
Oh, definitely big things. Like you say, he graduated summa cum laude, and he's a brilliant young dude. He's like 30 now, so it's not young, but he's a lyricist. From up top, even though he's North Carolina, he's definitely got an up top flow. So yeah, he's just something about him that is people just love, no matter where you at as far as hip hop. You have to respect his lyrics and what he gives to the game.
Yeah, I would agree. Vaughn, do you have any expectations for J. Cole?
I think he's gonna do what he been doing. He's going to. This one is hot, so I think it's going to be another hit.
So, well, since you said it's hot, let's go ahead and jump into it. Vaughn, what stood out most to you about For Your Eyez Only?
He is still a very humble dude. That's for sure. He's very humble, and he tells deep stories, like real life stories, stuff like being in love, and he telling you his spin on what love is. Just folding the clothes, that's his spin on love. He telling you he was just flowing throughout the whole album, and it's a good album. Okay. It's a good album.
Riggs, what about you? What stood out most to you?
Pretty much the same thing. Like, a good lyricist not only tells a story and tells it well, eloquently, smooth, slick, all of that, but he also paints a picture. Mm-hmm. So he paints vivid pictures of where he's been, where he's from. Like, in the beginning, like, with the intro and then the first song, I thought the album might be a little dark,
but it wasn't at all.
He covered everything. You know what I mean? How it is, like, when you're in a real relationship. A lot of people talk about relationships, but you can tell by their subject matter that, yeah, they may have been in love, but it might not have been that deep. So he's got the perspective from what he says. Not that he actually, says, this is a good woman, is this, but the pictures that's painted is that it's a good woman who knows him, who cares for him, who, is helping him experience real love in real life. When it comes to the other stuff, like, it's funny, like, everybody has somebody at some point in time where, there's some mutual attraction, but it's never acted on for whatever reason, and you see it and you know it, but then, so that's the way he goes about that. That was real cool. I mean, he's a brilliant dude, man. He captures a lot of truth.
I guess my expectation, well, I didn't have any expectations going in because we hadn't heard from J. Cole in 2 years, and since his last album, 2014, Forest Hills Drive, and these two albums are exactly 2 years apart. Like, Forest Hills Drive came out on December 9th, 2014, and this one came out December 9th, 2016. And he's pretty much gone dark on social media. I don't think he had this huge presence on social media anyway, so we really hadn't heard from him. So I really didn't know what to expect. And I'll be honest, I really like J. Cole. And and like him, like Kendrick, Big Sean, Wale, who I think are some of the newer generation of great lyricists, I think, some of the better hip hop artists. My expectations for him in that way are, you could say they're pretty high, just being honest. I think my expectations for him in that way are high. And,
not a bad thing, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. And, whenever he comes out, you just expect a certain level of quality compared to what we hear on the radio. And it's funny because I heard False Prophets on the radio. This was last week. I was on my way to work, sitting in 50-minute traffic. And Ryan Cameron, my favorite DJ here in Atlanta, he played False Prophets. And it came right. Well, he played False Prophets, and I forgot what song followed it up. I think it was like a Young Thug or, a Travis Scott. It was somebody. And False Prophets just stood out like a big toe, like a sore toe, whatever that analogy is. But to keep it simple, my expectations for J. Cole are pretty high. And speaking of False Prophets, Riggs, were you, after listening to the album in its entirety, do you think he was right to leave False Prophets and everybody dies off?
Come back to me on that one.
Vaughn, what about you? Did you hear False Prophets and everybody dies?
I did. I felt like he put something out. He didn't have to have those two. He didn't have to have them on there to me. He put those 2 out. He gave you a little teaser. Now come back for some more.
Okay.
That's how I felt about it.
Riggs, what about you?
I think it's always good to put a little something to keep people talking about you. And, even before that, he had the documentary. So he may not be like, on the social media and listening to that, but he stays relevant.
And with J. Cole, when I first heard False Prophets, I loved it. And I felt that it actually should have been a part of the album. And there's a song, and we'll talk about it later, Deja Vu. I felt that False Prophets would have been a great substitution for Deja Vu for obvious reasons. And you could also say that the song False Prophet and Everybody Dies, lyrically or in terms of the storyline, they don't fit on the album. Because on False Prophets and Everybody Dies, he pretty much came out and took a shot at
people.
Yeah, at every rapper. Because False Prophets was allegedly about Kanye West, Wale, Drake. I mean, who knows? But it's funny because him and Wale were at a basketball game the next day.
And they say they brothers. Like, yeah. Like he said it in the album. Mm-hmm. That's his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know me personally, sister, brother. If there's something I don't like about him, I may not put it out here for everybody else to hear, but I'm going to let you know. So I guess they have it like that with, hey, look, this is how I feel.
But speculation is always, it sells.
Right. Yeah. And you're right. He never confirmed that he was talking about anybody. And, if you listen to the lyrics, some of it could have actually applied to him as well, especially in that second verse where people feel that he's talking about Wale. On the album opener, let's talk about For Whom the Bell Tolls. From what I get from it, it sounds like he contemplates suicide. Did y'all hear that, Von? What did you think about that?
It seems like to me like he was just saying like how life gets so hectic, but you gotta pull yourself back. You gotta, but I didn't really think suicide. But I know we all get in jams like that when we be like, dang, like it's just, but not to where it's suicide. But I just felt like he was just saying life can get hectic and we all gonna get in that place and you gotta get yourself up out of it. Like you gotta move, keep going. And that's what I got out of it. And you just gotta keep going.
I definitely, at the least, some serious depression and possibly, suicidal thoughts. Which I kind of, I kind of appreciated that a bit because, like I said, he paints a picture. Mm-hmm. So he painted that picture, and that's what real life people go through. You know what I mean?
It opens the album, audience, if you haven't heard the album yet, For Whom the Bell Tolls. And it starts out with these bells, and it's really creepy. Mm-hmm. To say the least. It's very eerie, very, very somber. It's almost sad, and, and compared to his album openers in the past, this was something completely different. And immediately, once I heard him and heard what he was saying, I knew that J. Cole was in a different place then, and I knew not to expect what we've normally gotten from him. So
I appreciated the jazz, though.
Yes, yeah. He recruited a trumpeter by the name of Theo Croker.
Yeah, I have his first album. That's a good album.
Riggs, let me ask you this: Deja Vu. You remember, right?
It's like Deja Vu.
Yeah. How do you feel about not the song, but just the controversy surrounding it? Because Bryson Tiller, he came out on the exact same beat a year ago. And how do you feel about it? I'll just leave it at that.
I think it's gonna sound crazy. I think it's like a pair of kicks. If I got some J's and you got some J's, they're the same J's, I'll just rock it different.
Just rock it different. Okay.
And they two different songs.
Right.
That's how I felt like they two different songs going two different ways. One is more like a love song and one is more, upbeat and so.
It was a complete turnoff for me.
It was a turnoff?
Yeah. When I first heard it, with the controversy, the Boy Wonder, who made his name under Drake, he produced a lot of stuff. Well, he produces a lot of stuff for Drake, among other artists. But Boy Wonder and another producer named Vinyls, J. Cole, and a few other guys also receive a production credit on it. And not Mike Will, but Boy Wonder actually came out and accused the producer of the Bryson Tiller beat, the same beat. This guy's name is Michael Hernandez, and he's a part of this production group called The Mechanics. And he tweeted him like, yeah, this is all Real Tech's fault. That's the guy's name. He's always stealing music, and Boy Wonder claimed that they actually did the beat before Bryson Tiller's Exchange ever came out. So there's a lot surrounding it, but for me, even without me knowing that, I was just turned off when I heard it because, I mean, it was still so fresh. When I first heard it, I thought Bryson Tiller was going to come out of nowhere, and, you know, KP and Envy, which is where the sample comes from, Swing My Way. Shawty swing my way. That's where the sample comes from, audience, if you didn't know. KP and Envy's. Okay. But it was just a big turn off for me.
That song remind me of Tupac. It seemed like I thought Tupac was singing in it. That's why I was like, woo.
He did sound like Tupac on the second verse. So he channeled a few people on this album, which I was.
He did, but through the whole time you could tell you really, I mean, like it was him.
But I know when I was listening, so I was like, oh, is that? Oh, okay. I thought he was sampling something from Tupac, but
yeah,
he did it though. I mean,
he did.
Hey.
Cause even I was listening to Everybody Dies, and when he opens up, Chance the rapper has this thing that he does. We back.
Oh, okay.
Chance has that thing that he does, and if you listen to it, J. Cole does the same thing. We back, and he kind of uses some of Chance's. I don't know how you would say it. It's not a mannerism, catchphrases, or his vocal stylings, whatever you might want to call it. J. Cole kind of uses some of those, and you know it. For somebody to call other rappers out, I thought it was kind of funny that he decided to, and it might not have been intentional, but you could tell he's still been listening to music. Mm-hmm. He's still aware of what's been going on. And Chance, I think, is like Steph Curry. That's my analogy that I'll use. Because the Golden State Warriors, they pretty much came in the NBA and jumped over a lot of people and came out and won the championship. And I think Chance really did the same thing. But that was my quick analogy. But Vaughn, he talks about his wife on a couple songs, most notably She's Mine Part 1 and Folding Clothes. How do you think marriage is going to affect him going forward?
It should change you. If marriage don't change a person, then what are you in it? I mean, what benefit are you? That's what it's supposed to be. They're supposed to lift that person up. And all through all the songs that he's talking about his wife, it sounds like she has lifted him up, taught him how to love her. They're both learning how to be in this relationship, and he's learning some valuable lessons, and he's sharing his experience. And that's what marriage is about, sharing your life and sharing your experience, and just being I'm not gonna say a spokesperson, but telling people what love feel like.
Riggs, what about you? How do you think it's going to affect the music going forward?
Yeah, because I've never been married, so maybe Riggs can tell you more. But I mean, that's what I felt.
I think because he didn't follow the normal pattern, probably good, and I don't think it'll change his music that much. Over time, it doesn't matter, who you are, what your life is. Once you do different things, you start to rap about different things a little bit, But he's still the same dude, and I think he still will be. Mm-hmm. But it is, it's always good to hear people that have a positive spin on relationships in general, and that, draw from them and get something positive from them.
My favorite line was that Raisin Bran line, and I personally identify with it.
With the almond milk?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, audience.
Oh, yeah. Because what we do, we put y'all onto some new stuff. You see what I'm saying?
Well, it was so funny to me because audience, I love Raisin Bran. It's not my favorite cereal, but it's good for me.
Okay.
I could dig it. Raisin Bran Crunch does it for me.
Well, I can't. That one got too much sugar. I try to stay away from it.
Okay.
Good fiber.
But the thing was, when I tell people that I eat Raisin Bran, they automatically say, "Oh yeah, you an old man. What you doing eating Raisin Bran?" So
that's sucker cereal.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not hip hop.
Right. Yeah, that's that old rock and roll R&B. That's that old Ron Isley cereal. But it was so funny to me because like every morning I sit down and I eat a bowl of Raisin Bran, and when he hit me with the almond milk line, I'm like, I drink almond milk too. So, and he said after the almond milk line, he was like, yeah, you soft. And it's funny. He also talks about how not just black males, but there's a line, and I forget what song it is, but he talks about how.
Is it about pretending that you got to be hard type of thing?
Yeah, it was. And he pretty much said that ends are the best actors.
Yeah,
And man, I had it here somewhere.
That was on.
It was on Change.
Change. Yeah.
And I just had to read it. But the lyric was, "Ends from the hood is the best actors. We the ones that got to wear our face backwards. Put your frown on before they think you soft. Never smile long or take your defense off. Acting tough so much we start to feel hard. Live from the city where they pull cards. I got a Glock 40 and a little 9. Ready for the day, a end pull mine. In from the hood is the best actors. Gotta learn to speak in ways that's unnatural. Just to make it through the job interviews. If my boys heard me, they say, damn, what's gotten into you?"
Yeah. I listened to that and I thought the same thing. But it goes all the way as well. And I'm sure he knows that because summa cum laude and a lot of the vocabulary he uses in this album it isn't something that you hear from average everyday dude who's listening to this. So that's another thing too. A lot of times you even got to change that up. You can't speak like you have book knowledge.
Right.
You seem weak.
Yeah, it does. It's a reverse way of thinking, and everyone else is acting normal. We have to put on these fronts just to, I won't say go so far as to stay alive, but it does get to that extent at times. But I love the way that he pulled that out, and I think it's one of the better lyrics on the album because it's telling, because people go through it.
And I know he says a lot about how you need to get your education.
Yeah, he does.
He talks a lot about, so even though you might be hard, you still need to have an education. Yeah,
you're right. And Vaughn, let me ask you this. On She's Mine Part 2, he hadn't confirmed it, but he allegedly speaks about having a child, allegedly. How do you think him becoming a father, how's it going to affect him, the music going forward?
Oh, it'll give him a great appreciation for life. Giving life to a child is a life-changing, and there's growth. If you don't grow after having a child, I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't make you a good parent at all.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I think, I remember, he's got a little girl. I remember with my son and my daughter, when they first came, especially with my son, he's my first.
Right.
It's just different, and it is special and beautiful, even though it's like you think about it, everybody, just about everybody got kids.
Right.
What's the big deal? But when you have yours and, you experience that feeling that's, from you, that's, you have to take care of that child, provide,
right,
all the hopes and dreams that you have for that child, it does definitely change your perspective.
Right. So what were some of the favorite lyrics on For Your Eyez Only?
For Your Eyez Only, man. First thing that hits you in the heart is that somebody trusts you enough to give that message to their child that they couldn't give because they knew, because of the way they were living and things that they felt,
right,
that they weren't gonna make it too much longer.
Mm-hmm.
And to give this letter of the love they have for that child, that's big.
Right.
So that speaks big for J. Cole.
Right.
And basically it was written by the dude who passed, by his best friend. But
yeah, because he was incarcerated, right? Well, he was incarcerated. That's what he was saying. That's what I got out of, like, he was incarcerated and he wanted his daughter to know those things. Like, he was it was things that he wanted to leave her with.
Right. I mean, well, it sounded like really he was in and out of jail, coming
right,
up,
mm-hmm,
and had been incarcerated. But, I believe this is posthumous. So he left that for his daughter because he's not there at all anymore. He's gone.
Right.
So, man, there's so many lines in that song about same type of thing as other song, really what you want for your child, and
right,
letting them know that you love them. And even though you may not have done things the best, you tried. And that's basically, that's the main thing with anything, is that you tried, especially for somebody you love.
One of my favorite ones where he said, I hope you find a dude with goals and point of views.
Mm-hmm.
You find somebody that's going, that got some.
Right. And he said, especially nobody like your daddy.
That's right. And he said, like how you try to find employment even if you wiping toilets. Like you doing what you gotta do for your, gotta do what you gotta do for your family.
Right. Without we're getting part of that lifestyle. So yeah, it's a brilliant song. I don't know where the line is between what the dude wrote and whatever poetry that J. Cole put on it, but it's a beautiful song.
It is. Then I saw another one I liked. He said, "If my path becomes the death of me, I hope you understand. I hope you understand." And that was deep.
Yeah, that is deep. But
That
at the
was
same
deep.
time, people who haven't passed already, which would be anybody who could be listening to this, because if you listen to it, you're not dead. But
Right.
if you have a path that's leading you there, it sounds good. But do what you need to do so you can be there for yours.
Yeah. So what was some of your favorite songs?
To be honest, I really did like the whole album. Of course, some songs more than others. I definitely like Change.
Yeah, I had like that too.
Definitely liked She's Mine, part 1 and part 2.
And part 2. But part 2 was my favorite though.
I mean, I like them the same. Yeah, actually, and they came in order because that's the way you want to do things. You want to have that part 1.
Right.
You want to have that relationship, and
That's true,
and
that's
then
true.
create part 2.
That's true.
So
right.
I kind of like that. And Neighbors was cool. Folding Clothes. I mean, if you think about it, like for a dude don't come by and fold no lady clothes.
Oh, nah. They ain't folding his clothes. No. They just put them in. They just throw them in the
If that is not real love.
If that ain't love, what is love?
Yeah.
If that ain't love, I don't know what is love.
Because, hey, I'm about to watch the ball game.
Right. I got better stuff to do than fold your clothes.
When you finish folding your clothes, holla at me.
Holla.
We can do some things.
Holla.
But, yeah, I like that. The folding clothes is brilliant. For Your Eyes Only, like we just talked about. And Neighbors, too.
Yeah, I like Neighbors, too. Yeah.
I've actually had a few conversations this week about the struggles of being a black dude in basically white society.
Right.
And and I don't hate being black. I love being black, but sometimes I hate being black in a white society. The way you get looked at for certain things,
Yeah.
the way you have to keep up a particular appearance, even if that is who you are. You kind of have to exaggerate it, so almost like you're a representation of everybody around you, and But it's a good song. I like Nate. I like it all for the most part. Yeah.
Smooth, what was some of your favorite?
Neighbors, Change, both parts of She's Mine, For Your Eyes Only, False Prophets, and Everybody Dies. I know they're not officially on the album,
Yeah, but hey.
I went and bought them from iTunes and made my own deluxe edition of For Your Eyes Only. So those are my favorites. I pretty much liked everything. The only one that I could do about, like I was saying earlier, was Deja Vu.
Okay.
Kind of like the Deja Vu.
I like Deja Vu.
And honestly, it's not a bad song. It's really not. My only thing it's just the beat. Since I heard, Bryson Tiller do it, and Charles Hamilton, he was the first one that I heard sample KP and Envy Swing My Way. He was the first one that I heard, but that was my only thing. I was just kind of annoyed by hearing the beat. It's like, if you at home, your wife cooking, your husband cooking, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, and she might come home and cook the same exact thing the next day, and you're like, okay. Well, that's kind of the feeling I got. Like I'm looking like, yeah, I don't want this. That's kind of the feeling I got when I heard Deja Vu. But other than that, it wasn't a bad song. But those were my favorites. Those were actually my favorite tracks.
Yeah, we're pretty much all
On the same wavelength.
Yeah.
So I guess will we be recommending this album to our friends?
I know I will be, and I will be listening to it
Me too.
throughout the rest of 2016 and 2017.
Yeah, me definitely. I definitely will recommend it. And I like J. Cole because he's of a certain age. Like me and him, he's 31 and he'll actually be 32 in January, coming up this January. So he's about 2 years older than me. But a lot of the things that he says I can relate to. I didn't get to give you guys my favorite lyric. There was one lyric where he talks about segregation. And he says that sometimes I think segregation would have done us better. Although I know that means I would never be brought into this world because my daddy was so thrilled when he found him a white girl to take back to Jonesboro with Lil Zach and Cold World, barely 1 year old. And there's another song, I forget which one it was, but he also talks about integration as well. And he questions, was it really worth it? And I think it speaks to a larger issue. You know, everything that the generations before us fought for, they seem like they're pretty much for naught at this point. I won't say they were done for nothing, but what I'm trying to get to is that they fought for integration in the mainly in the schools, and it's reverted back to where it was. And I grew up in a predominantly black school. I mean, there were maybe one white person or two sprinkled here and there, and a few from the Latin community. But for the most part, things have reverted back to the way they were. And he questions that in the song. And I also have one more favorite verse. He talked about Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, we was talking about
that.
that.
You did? You talked about Christmas?
No,
No.
Not on the mic,
before the
though.
show.
But before
the
that was
show?
a pre-show.
Yeah.
We was talking about.
But yeah, that line where he talked about Christmas, and it's in here somewhere. I got it in here somewhere.
Go ahead
Oh, here
and
it
tell
is.
them.
It's on She's Mine Part 2. And I wish stuff was different here. But if I had a magic wand to make the evil disappear, that means there will be no Santa Claus. No more to bring you Christmas cheer, because what he represents is really greed and the need to purchase blank from corporations that make a killing because they feed on the wallets of the poor who be knocking on their door every Black Friday just to get some blank they can't afford. Even with a discount, write a check, that blank bounce.
Yes.
But as long as we got credit, it don't matter. The amount we just swiping, blank here.
Teach.
We don't love, we just liking, blank here.
Teach.
And I love the way he completely dismissed Christmas. Like, I already, you know, if you a family member and you listening to this right now, my family member specifically, if you ain't my mama, please don't expect anything from me this year. Just being honest, because I like to call holidays economy boosters. And
all
I think,
of them are.
yeah.
Yeah.
Halloween, all of them.
I don't.
Do you know what
Most
Halloween,
retailers
you know?
make what is it, like at least 50% of all their profits for the whole year. And,
Yeah.
And Christmas season.
And there's a flip side to it. You could probably argue with the other way, you know, if we're not out purchasing things that could lead to a lot less jobs because, you know, hiring spikes during the fourth quarter of the year. So you can argue it both ways, but I'm not a fan of Christmas at all. Even when I was 2 years old, I discovered that Santa Claus, well, parents, if you don't want your kids to hear this, close their ears. Santa Claus is not real. And I discovered that at an early age. And the story is, and I'll keep it quick. Christmas morning came, and I go to the living room to open my presents. And I go to the first one, and, you know, they have the little tags on the gift. So I'm opening it up. I'm excited, like, yeah, what's in here? And I open the gift up, and I look back at my mom. And she was like, why are you looking at me crazy? I'm just 2 years old. And I look back at the gift, and I'm like, this is the exact same thing that we bought yesterday when I was with you.
And you know she bought it.
Right. Because the tag said from Santa to Jay. And I look back at her like, okay, I was just with you when we bought this yesterday. So why is Santa's name on it? And, you know, being, you know, more than 2 or 3 years old, I won't say that was a stroke of genius or anything, but I realized then that Santa wasn't real. Like, my mom bought me this. Like, why is he getting the credit? She should be the one getting all the credit. So, you know, that was always my issue with Christmas or just holidays in general. I think people spend a lot of unnecessary money that they don't have to spend. And I just think if you grown, you don't need to get gifts. Be honest.
I think people do appreciate some of the right things, but just put it behind something that's just so
frivolous. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, the whole thing, you know, about Christ's birthday, ain't too many people that really consider Christ that much on Christmas.
No, they don't.
And Christmas has only really been celebrated the way it is from the 30s, and most of the concepts came from advertising executive at Gimbel's. The picture of Santa Claus is from robber barons, which is people who own a lot of lands and, you know, basically like slumlords.
Yeah.
And, you know, created this thing, you know, just to make money. And before that, most of the Christmas stuff comes from Egyptians being under captivity by the Romans and wanting to worship their sun god and celebrate the winter solstice, and said, oh, we're going to celebrate Jesus on this day. You're Jesus. And just did their pagan stuff. So I mean, all of that is with the Christmas itself, but it is a time where everybody has off, and it's a time where family gets together and you get a chance to see your people, and you share love and all this and all that. I think people should just do that anyway, without having to put the moniker of Christmas on it.
But yeah, that those are just a few of the lyrics that I like. Cause J. Cole, he speaks on, like you guys said it all show, he speaks on things that are actually happening, things that real people can relate to. Not that everybody isn't. Well, when I say real, I'm just saying in a physical form,
Wow.
physically, that real people can relate to. So and for that, I appreciate J. Cole. And I did want to mention one more thing, and I'll leave it alone. I was disappointed a bit by the production, and it's not bad, but I mentioned it earlier. J. Cole, he produces or co-produces every track on the album and he serves in some capacity, in some way, shape, or another. And he brings in a few other people to help boost or accentuate his sound. And this has probably always been my problem with J. Cole is, and Riggs, you watched the documentary, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There was a part in the documentary where he was sitting behind a keyboard. I think it was a Rhodes, and he was talking to a guy, and they were having a conversation about music theory, and you could hear that J. Cole, he was pretty much sitting, he was taking it in. He really didn't know what the guy was talking about. But to get to my point, musically as a producer, J. Cole is limited, and I think that's the thing that's always held him back. And my thing is, J. Cole, I would love to see you reach out to other people to help expand your sound. And I think that's the thing that's why Kendrick is always going to have that edge over him. Because when I heard To Pimp a Butterfly, if you can, audience, go back and listen to Pimp a Butterfly. And Kendrick brought in the best musicians. I mean, Thundercat, Robert Glasper,
Kamasi Washington,
I mean, the best vocalist, Layla Hathaway, Bilal. And I don't know what it is with J. Cole. I don't know if he's not budgeted for those things or if he just wants to be this one of hip hop's singular talents. But when your peers are so great, use them. Like Kanye West does the same thing. And Quincy Jones, as great as he is, he knew his limitations, and that's why he was able to bring in, the Barry Whites, El DeBarges, Albie Shore, Patty Austin, Brothers Johnson, whoever, to help build a great album. And so that's my thing with J. Cole. Just J. Cole, on your next album, I just challenge you to go out and recruit more people to help build your sound. Not that his production is bad. I just think for him to get to that next level, I think he's going to have to bring in other people to help create a stronger sound. Because to me, he still sounds very traditional right now. And that's not a bad thing. And I'm not saying he has to sound like what's on the radio right now. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Right.
But Common is another example. Common brought in Robert Glasper, Kareem Riggins, all these guys. And I'm not saying he has to bring in Robert Glasper and all these people, but bring people in, bring your peers in to help extend your sound or help augment your sound. Because if J. Cole continues to do what he's doing, I don't think he's going to last long. He's saying some great stuff, but at some point the production has to match what he's saying. Lyrically, he's miles ahead of what his production is, his ability as a producer, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does, and I agree. I think I don't know if it'll fall off just because the emotion that he evokes with his lyrics and the patterns of his songs will sustain. But I definitely agree that all the songs are enjoyable. A couple of them are really, really good, but production wise, there wasn't like a banger that one you just couldn't stop bobbing your head to a certain kind of way. Nothing that make a woman want to twerk.
Right.
Not that you have to, but nothing that had all that strength, like you said. But although all of it being good, I agree with you 100%.
And I mean, if that's what J. Cole is going for, that's fine. I mean, he's his own artist. He's his own entity. He can do whatever it is he wants to do. And I mentioned he's one of probably hip hop's most singular talent because he writes his own stuff, he produces. But perfect analogy, Prince is him, Stevie Wonder, and a few other people. They're arguably the greatest singular talents.
Virtuosos.
Yeah, in music history. And the problem is that, like you just said, Riggs, those guys were virtuosos. They played several instruments, and they can actually themselves, they can take their sound to the next level. But J. Cole, he's limited musically, and he can't do that. So that's the only thing that I'm saying. Like a part of in life, I think we all have to realize at some point where our shortcomings are, and that's when we have to reach out and ask for help. And I don't know if it's a pride thing or whatever with J. Cole, but I think he really needs to reach out for some help on production, because lyrically, I mean, the dude got it. I mean, he's by far one of my favorites today, but the production is going to be the thing that holds him back, I think.
Yeah, I think sometimes success is a gift and a curse. So it's definitely all the way a gift when it comes to lyricism. But, like you said, with production, because he is successful, he's doing his thing. So he may not feel like, he needs anybody else to come, but everybody should want better.
And maybe that's just me. I just, I like, all the artists I like, I'm just hard on them. And I just like J. Cole that much. And I just feel that he's capable, because out of all 4 of his studio albums, I wouldn't consider any of them a classic. I think that word is used too loosely, but I wouldn't consider any of his albums a classic. And, on time will tell, but that's just my opinion.
I can dig it.
But did you guys have anything else on J. Cole? All right. Well, let's find out what we're listening to. Vaughn, what you got? You listening to something?
Well, I listened to Anderson .Paak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's him.
As you instructed me to. To check it out. He was like, I need to check it out. So that's what I was listening to. His his only album?
Yeah.
Yes,
mm-hmm.
This is his only album. Yes.
He just put out something recently called Yes Lord with somebody.
Oh, okay.
Yes Lord, Yes Loud.
Yeah, that's so his last album. That's what I was listening to.
Reese, what about you?
J. Cole.
J. Cole. There you go. And I actually went back and listened to J. Cole's first album. And there's a song on this first album. I forgot the name. I should have wrote it down. But No ID produces it. Yeah, audience, the name of the song that I want to tell you about is Never Told from J. Cole's album. And great song produced by No ID, one of my favorite J. Cole songs ever. So check that one out. And that's actually it for What Are You Listening To? So let's actually shout some people out and go home. Riggs, what you got?
Everybody who's listening.
That's right.
Shout you out. Appreciate your support. My Switch Style family. Slick Money.
Vaughn, what you got?
Same as Riggs. Switch Style podcast listeners, Slick Money, you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for having a sister another week.
Oh, yeah.
And to my family and friends, hey, continue to listen. Tell somebody else. That's it for me.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. And remember, too, if you're listening right now, if you made it this far, thank you for listening. We sincerely appreciate it, and we hope you listen to all of our shows. And if you are interested, you can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play. You don't have to say it. Y'all don't have to say it, but just look us up on Switch Style
Podcast.
Yeah,
That's
he
right.
just wanted to say it. Yeah.
Switch Style Podcast.
So just look us up, iTunes, Google Play Music, and SoundCloud. And if you want to write us a review, please do. Email us at switchstylepodcast@gmail.com. And also hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're everywhere. So check us out. Again, thank you, listeners. Thank you, Riggs and Vaughn, of course, every week. I appreciate you guys. And that's a wrap on episode 38.
38.
Peace.
Peace. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Peace.